Legitimacy has always been an enormous problem for the UFO research community, and that's no accident. For decades, we have been subjected to an intense, focused, sustained, well-funded, well-organized propaganda campaign across all levels of society and culture, with the goal of completely delegitimizing this subject so that no one in their right mind would come anywhere near it, for fear that their reputation or their career could be irrevocably damaged. Probably the most famous case of this is Harvard professor John Mack, who wrote the amazing book Abduction and began to legitimize research into the alien abduction phenomenon. And he was famously called before a board of inquiry at Harvard and grilled for this, and they tried to really drum him out of Harvard or get him to completely drop it. And interestingly, the guy who defended John Mack in that instance was attorney Daniel Sheehan, who pops up again and again throughout the history of this topic because he has been deeply involved for a very long time. And you can see the propaganda campaign play out in the larger media in the way that they cover it or don't cover it. When they cover it, it's always in this goofy, silly, sort of cartoonish way with silly music, or they'll play the theme to the X-Files and they show a cartoon of a goofy-looking flying saucer crashing into a building, and it just looks ridiculous. And that creates this perception in the wider public that the whole topic is nonsense and there's no there. The Soul Foundation is a group out of Stanford University started by Peter Scottfish and Garry Nolan. And their goal is to re-legitimize this subject. And the way that they're going to do that is by bringing together top-tier researchers across a number of different disciplines and fields, and from the sciences and the humanities, and just get started researching it, looking at it, having conferences, talking about it, publishing papers, and putting research out there. And they kind of begin from a place of, this is all very real and we're going to take it seriously. To me, this finally signifies the full mainstreaming of this topic, right? It's already been covered in the New York Times. It's been covered a million times on Joe Rogan, so the most popular podcast in the world, arguably one of the most important newspapers in the world, the newspaper of record, has covered it. It's being talked about everywhere, and now legitimate academic researchers at a world-class top-tier university are actually studying it formally. And the Soul Foundation was started in 2023, and they held their first symposium late that year, and a number of different amazing speakers presented at that symposium. Chris Mellon was there, Leslie Keane was there, Hal Puthoff was there, David Grush gave a presentation, Jacques Vallée was there, and it was really just a meeting of the minds of really top tier people talking about this issue. And they just put out all of the videos of this event on their YouTube page, and you can go there and watch them now. I've been working my way through them, and they're fascinating. It's a lot of shop talk, and a lot of it's kind of dense, but fascinating stuff, and you should absolutely check it out. If you're not familiar with the Soul Foundation, I'm going to play they have like a 6-minute sort of setup piece for what the organization does. I'm going to play that for you now. We'll watch it together. Check this out. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
The Soul Foundation is an institute of research that funds and guides research in sciences, the social sciences, the humanities, and that also produces policy and advisory research that is aimed to illumine and help us clear up what's going on with the UAP issue and also prepare us to deal with the social implications of it.
I come from a tradition in science of taking from multiple different fields of science and thought simultaneously and synthesizing them into something new. You create and you invent. I'm a tinkerer by nature, and so here we are tinkering with the reality of what this might actually mean.
We also are putting together what we call a whole of society approach that engages all institutions and kinds of people so that we can deal with what may promise to be a very world-changing issue in a way that involves everyone.
Here you now have everybody realizing that it's possible to talk about this and that they're not going to be booed out of the room. Welcome to California. Welcome to Stanford. The objective here is to legitimize and professionalize, and then to seek from you your ideas.
We know from our private life that finding a partner provides a meaning to our existence. The same holds for finding a partner in outer space. Suddenly, the universe will not appear to be lonely.
A lot of individuals who previously thought that they were alone in their thought or their belief system suddenly finding that they had many other individuals with whom they could speak. And so now the networks are forming, and we hope that this will catalyze an opportunity for others to basically step forward instead of us or along with us.
Not sure I'm aware of any sort of think tank organizations in recent years at the level of Soul. I mean, in terms of the people that they have attracted to the organization, not just the founders, but people associated with it, the people here at this conference. I've been going to conferences for 22 years, and I've never been to one at the level of this one. So I think it's really unique.
Everyone here in the audience has kind of praised it as the best event they've seen on this. And they've told us that everyone who needs to be here is here speaking, and that the audience is composed of just as many important people.
This is why we have the Soul Foundation. We need to basically create a parallel track of research and independent discoveries that aren't necessarily dependent on the U.S. government to provide us all the answers.
Before the space program, people felt that we couldn't even go into space, that human beings were tied to the Earth. Now we have over 500 people have actually flown in orbit, okay? And so it's not something that's unthinkable anymore. It's something people do. Okay? So the stigma has been removed.
Imagine if you could actually use some kind of technique to search for unidentified objects that are non-human. Our goal is to search for a specific, identifiable signature from an ET probe or non-human object.
It's an absolute perfect moment for Soul to get involved, because we need policymakers to be advised on this, right? I mean, they want to do the right thing. There are many members of Congress who want more transparency, but the more information they can get from the brilliant people associated with Soul, the better it is. So I think the moment is perfect.
The fact that they're acknowledging it, whereas before, there's been rumors that NASA didn't want to do anything and other people didn't. But I think there's kind of like a crescendo, or something's coming, where now we can all get behind it. And I think if we can get this into more mainstream academia, I think it will help with a lot.
The more academics that are writing papers, the broader the base of interest is going to become. And I think that's another really important aspect of what Soul is doing.
What one learns when one gets in this field is that you end up with more collaborators, more supporters, and more offers of help than you would get if you were working on something conventional.
What they're really just trying to do is foster a coalition of the willing to properly identify what's going on. I think there's been other groups that have done this, but not at the scale of which Soul is trying to do this.
The Soul Foundation is something that we've all been dreaming for a long time, and I think it's the appropriate way to call attention to the problem and to gather the energy that we're going to need to go forward.
Anybody who will bring something forward in a manner that is logical and non-hyperbolic, we want to hear from them.
The influence that Soul can have in terms of bringing in the academic community and drawing these people in and creating papers that academics can read, it's going to expand the base of people that become aware of this situation, of the UAP issue, and it might draw in other intelligent people that haven't been exposed to it so far.
When this conversation develops and when the issue develops, we're always there to provide answers, because we were asking the questions that people are today 5-10 years before.
We're on the precipice of feeling that we are both smaller and larger than what we thought we were before. Smaller in that there's a greater sense of intelligences that might be out there, and so therefore we're one of many. But so that can make you feel small, but then bigger by knowing that you're as part of a community.
So what do you think? It's pretty interesting, right? We have a group of top-tier, world-class researchers from a number of different disciplines coalescing around this issue, discussing it openly, bringing it out into the open, creating some political cover for other researchers to jump into the field and create sort of this self-reinforcing feedback loop, which we desperately need at this moment. That's the thing that's going to take this to the next level. But we also, as that's all happening, kind of off to the side, we have whistleblowers coming forward saying that we have sensor data showing us that these things are appearing in orbit, coming into the atmosphere, traveling from the atmosphere into the ocean, coming out of the ocean, turning off our aircraft carriers, turning off our nuclear weapons. They're all around us all the time. Our pilots are seeing them every day. They only appear when they want us to see them. When they don't want us to see them, they cloak and disappear. And if you follow other researchers like John Mack and you go down that rabbit hole, they're abducting people by the tens of thousands for decades and doing a number of different things to those people that we still don't really understand.
They were complex narratives of being taken by alien beings into UFOs on beams of light. They were embarrassed, ashamed to come forward about it.
And you don't think these were wild dreams,
not at all.
hallucinations?
These are very solid people, healthy, mentally healthy people. And the only thing I knew that behaves like that is real experience. This is not the way dreams behave. This is not the way mental illness behaves. It's not the way fantasy behaves. Some kind of real experience is occurring to these people. But if this is a real experience, that is some kind of entities, beings, intelligences are entering our world and affecting hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people according to polls, then this is something really worth looking at. So that's what I've been trying to do, is get people at least look at it.
So there's this huge phenomenon that's happening all around us, and we kind of know it. We know that it's happening, and we know that it's happening on a massive scale. And we're just now starting to begin to take our first steps towards openly researching this as a human family and a community. So that's really interesting. Now, if you go over to their YouTube channel and look at their videos, they have all the different speakers listed here. There's David Grush, Jacques Vallée, Diana Walsh-Pasulka. There's everybody's here. Timothy Gallaudet, Chris Mellon, Hal Puthoff's here, Garry Nolan, Peter Scoffish, Carl Nell. Interestingly, Danny Sheehan was not involved in this, which I don't understand why, but I'm sure there's a good reason. I'd be interested to know if anybody has any information on that. I'm curious to hear about it. And have you noticed that Stephen Greer is nowhere to be found with this group? He's like completely disconnected from everything that's happening with this group. So you have Chris Mellon, you have Lou Elizondo, you have David Grush, you have Carl Nell, you have the Schumer Amendment, you have all of this stuff happening over here, and then there's like Stephen Greer's off to the side doing his own thing. And yet, he's got dozens and dozens of whistleblowers that are very compelling and come forward with amazing stories that just melt your brain.
In this exhibit at Norton Air Force Base, that a three-star general said that these vehicles were capable of doing light speed or better. Oh, by the way, and the largest of three vehicles was about 120 to 130 feet in diameter. I mean, that's massive when you think about it. It's just huge. That's really interesting.
I don't understand the breakdown between what Greer is doing and what the larger group is doing over here. I don't understand why that dynamic is so weird. I know that people have said that Greer is sort of a grifter character and that he has kind of a crazy ego, but he's also been pushing this forward for 20 years. I mean, if he's out there to discredit the topic, he's doing a terrible job. He's just constantly talking about it, and his whistleblowers are very compelling. If you go on Stephen Greer's YouTube channel and look at the people that he has interviewed over the years, it will blow your mind. Those interviews are phenomenal. Take everything that David Grush has said, as mind-blowing as it is, and now multiply that by 30 or 40 or 50, and that's what Stephen Greer's sitting on. So I don't understand the breakdown here. Maybe somebody can educate me on that. I'm curious what you think. Let me know in the comments. Definitely go over and check out the Soul Foundation's YouTube page, watch their videos. I'm going to try to do a deep dive on some of these in the next couple of days, but they're kind of dense, so it takes a little while to get through them. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video. And hey, if you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second. It doesn't cost a dime, and it truly does help out my channel. Thank you for being a part of Team Night Shift. I'm so glad you're here. I'll see you on the next one. And until then, keep looking up.